All right, Shalom. I want to give all praises and honor and glory to Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem, Rakar Kodash. I want to say double honors and give double honors to the apostles and the bishop elders, a great millstone for teaching his word in truth and sincerity and for ruling well. And salutations to my fellow Akim across the four corners of the globe, preaching and prophesying in the name of Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai. Hey, I'm my brother Gabar Yahweh from GMS Hawaii, coming to you with another lesson. And this is a follow-up lesson to a lesson that I just uploaded on a premiere, and it just ended. It is entitled "All Black Leaders Are Members of the Boule or Sigma Pi Phi." All right, and Sigma Pi Phi is the official name of the Boule, which is supposedly the first African American fraternity that was created, or first Greek letter African American fraternity created in America. I think it was created around like 1904 or some shit like that, 1909. It was early 20th century. And so I wanted to go through this book, all right, because there's a lot of information in this book on this particular organization. Because there's not a lot of widely known things about the organization. You got a lot of notable men and women that are a part of this organization. And this organization was set up. Matter of fact, let me bring this up. This organization right here, Sigma Pi Phi, wasn't set up to do any good for the children of Israel. It was set up for the sellouts of our nation to gather the leaders or so-called prominent individuals, particularly men, into this organization, so they can basically have a galvanization on the leadership of the so-called black, um, the so-called black people in America. And a lot of your leaders that you see in front of you, from I mentioned some in the previous video, Jesse Jackson, Al Sharpton, just to name a couple, you know, but mainly leaders in industry and whatever their industries, their endeavors are, they are a part of this organization. And much like Skull and Bones, there's little known about it. The inner workings of the organization, their process of getting into the organization and what they really do. And so this particular book that I got right here, speaks about that. So without further ado, I want to start on page 98 of this book. And you can download this book online. You don't got to pay for it. You can get the free PDF. Matter of fact, I'll post a PDF link in the both the description box when I'm done, but definitely going to post it um, on a comment board. So if anybody wants to get this book and read this chapter on this organization, you should be able to do it. Let me see if it loads up. Okay, God. So I posted the link. And this video is going live on both GMS Hawaii Bot and as well as our backup page, GMS Keep Striving. Okay. So without further ado, again, this is the follow-up to All Black Leaders Are Members of the Boule Sigma Pi Phi. So this is off of page 98. This is Henry McKee Minton. He's the original founder of this organization. So actually, I actually want to start. I'm gonna start on. I'm gonna start on page 97. All right, because uh, this organization was built on basically the Uncle Tom niggas, the aristocracy of the so-called blacks, to separate themselves from the lower classes that were moving into the major cities. So it says let's look at page 96. Right? It says in 1903, W.E.B. Du Bois, in his book Souls of Black Folks, observed that the problem of the 20th century is the color line. Shortly before Du Bois had completed the Philadelphia Negro, a major study of African Americans in Philadelphia, he found that progress among the general black population was such that by the beginning of the 20th century, approximately 7,500 African Americans were college graduates, which that was a low number for that time, you know. Indeed, Philadelphia counted several physicians, dentists, lawyers, school teachers, and other professionals among its African American residents. These Du Bois termed the black aristocracy or the talented tenth. And I mentioned the talented tenth in a previous video. The talented tenth was basically the higher up blacks, would trickle down any information, any resources that they had to the lessers, but that didn't happen. So it says, America. He said these Du Bois termed the black aristocracy or the talented tenth, but such blacks did not associate with whites of the same professions, right? So these Edomites back then wasn't dealing with Jake like that. They didn't look at them being in these professions as anything notable unto themselves. You see, amongst our people, you get excited about somebody being a doctor or a lawyer or a teacher or a politician, but those or a physician, but those or dentists, those things are common occurrence amongst the Edomites and these other nations. And that's like the working class, upper middle class, you know, what do they call it? White collar, blue collars, but mainly like white collar jobs, right? And so amongst our people, when you were in these kind of professions, it was like you was rich. It was like you was a multimillionaire. It was like you were considered the aristocracy, which show you how low of a level Jake is really on. But anyway, I digress. It says, but such blacks did not associate with the whites of the same profession, although his study showed considerable progress for some African Americans in that city. For the most part, African Americans of whatever status, professional attainment remain isolated from the mainstream that is white American life. Philadelphia was not unique in this regard, and I'm from Philadelphia originally, so I know exactly what he's talking about. As Du Bois pointed out in his studies in Chicago and New York City, the latter for the New York Times, racial isolation was the norm in those cities in those cities as well. Philadelphia, like the rest of America, was black and white. Among the African American population, the aristocracy felt isolated from the black masses. And a great example of that, there's this video. I didn't bring it up. I didn't pull it up, but there's a video that I might bring up if I can find it. It's called Black in America. Um, and it's called Black in America, and it's from CNN. All right. And yeah, Black in America Part Two. Let me see. I think it's Part Two. Yeah. Black in America Part Two. Yeah. And the woman says, there's a common misconception about what being black is. And this woman, she's a part of the so-called talented tenth. She's a part of these aristocratic Israelites that are part of these organizations such as the Boule, and they look at themselves different from the masses. We will be considered the masses, the lowly. That's why the scripture said this about the rich man. When a rich man speaketh, people hear. They listen. I'm gonna see if I can find it real quick. I know I'm doing a lot of talking about this book, but I want to get to it because this is you got to understand that the so-called leadership of our people, do not have the best interests of the people. And it's only right because we always had an aristocracy. In all our captivities, you had Israelites that were doing well, even though we were in captivity. All right. So it's not far fetched that you have the same thing going on now. And the same thing happened back then is what's happening now. The wealthy of our people were with, not everybody, but because you had Joseph Arimatheus who was wealthy, and he wasn't with the Roman situation. But nonetheless, you got a lot of our people that basically turned Jake to the dark side, man. This is what was I looking for? A poor man's wisdom. A poor man's wisdom. Let me see if I can find it. When he speaketh, let me see. This is the book of Ecclesiasticus. I think it's 13. Just bear with me, brothers. This is the book of Ecclesiasticus, chapter 13. Yep. And prophet. Just bear with me. I'm trying to look for this precept. Twice, thrice, where? See, it might be in 14. It might be in 14. Says he does evil to himself, and he doeth good, and he can eye. Man, they make it get bread. Just bear with me. I can't find a precept. This is the book of Ecclesiasticus, chapter 13. This is Ecclesiasticus chapter 13, verse 23. It says, when a rich man speaketh, every man holdeth his tongue, and look what he saith. They exalt it to the clouds. But if the poor man speak, they say, what fellow is this? And if he stumble, they will help overthrow him. So right, when the rich man speaketh, when a rich man opens his mouth, the people listen. And that's what our people are. That's what, and even Esau knows this. Our people gravitate to an outer appearance of aristocracy, of wealth. That's even in the Middle Ages. That's why a lot of Jakes, those noble homes, those noble houses, were Negroes. But what were they doing? They were oppressing their people. They were fighting amongst each other. All right. They were starting wars with one another. They had something called the 100-Year War, and it was between noble houses, right? But when the rich man speaks, our people are attracted to that. That's why you see a lot in this hip hop shit. Jake get attracted to the flash and the flex, even if these niggas ain't really living like that. That's what they attracted to. That's what they rather listen to. But when a poor man speak or he stumble, they try to throw you even further down in your stumble, and they'll ignore you. They will ignore what you say, and that's why our people are attracted to this shit. But what are they doing? They're emulating their enemy. They're emulating the mindset of the Edomite. So that's why you got these Jakes that are completely racist against themselves, and they don't see themselves the way you see each other. They don't see themselves as a part of the masses. They see themselves separate, just like the super elite of the Edomites. The super elite, the Rothschilds, don't look at themselves as average Edomites. They look at themselves as somebody that's extremely high and above their own kind. And you have this kind of mentality again, in all nations. So why wouldn't you have it amongst Israel? But the difference is our leaders, these supposed leaders, these aristocrats of our people, they don't have your best interests. So they'll poison you, they'll kill you, they'll set you up for ultimate destruction. They'll lead you into a way that is not right. Okay, so I want to play this video just real quick. If you brothers want to continue to listen and watch, and I'll get back to the book. But let me stop this, sharing this real quick, and then let me go back to present, and I will share the video. All right, right here, so that you can hear it. Okay.
See, do you think most Americans have no clue that privileged, wealthy, well-connected Black people exist in decent-sized numbers?
We're invisible.
Why?
Because we don't match the stereotype. The stereotype for Black Americans is poverty, failure, victimization, and mediocrity.
These are great. Dr. Miles, a mother of
Stereotype.
decent sized numbers, have no clue. She's a renowned psychiatrist in Washington, D.C. Do you think most Americans have no clue that privileged, wealthy, well-connected Black people exist in decent sized numbers?
We're invisible.
Why?
Because we don't match the stereotype. The stereotype for Black Americans is poverty, failure, victimization, and mediocrity.
These are great. Dr. Miles, a mother of 3, emphasizes success in her home with a family.
What is success in this world? Selling out the Esau, emulating Esau. What you gonna go into this precepts and you're gonna find out that niggas always been doing this. Because see, to them, they think they're separate from the masses, which they consider to have a mindset of failure, mediocrity, victimization, stereotypes, because they don't fit that, so they think that they're separate. But when this thing goes down, these niggas gonna find out that they just like the rest of these niggas, worthless to the so-called white man, and they're gonna be cattle. All right. But somebody said something on the comment board. I want to show. It's always a scoffer. Somebody named Great Info Online. Let's gonna see if this person has any videos. Let's go to their channel and see the dumb shit that these people took. This nigga got 4 videos: laserless tattoo removal, best music production, how to shoot a complete video on a DSLR, and how to play the piano on basics. But yet this idiot will say your GMS leaders are Boule / Skull and Bone also, which they're not. Our leaders are not at all affiliated with the so-called Boule, and damn sure ain't with the Skull and Bones, man. Because the Skull and Bones is for Edomites. But this is the kind of shit that you got to deal with. You got to deal with a bunch of people who come on a comment board with no look. They can't even edify themselves out of a paper box. Hold on. I'm going to show you this person's page, man. Let me show you this person's page. We'll go to this person's YouTube page, right? And then I'm going to put them on timeout. But this is what I'm talking about. When you're trying to edify people, you know, I'm going to subscribe to this person's page real quick. We're going to go to YouTube, right? And we're going to go to this person's page. Oh, you can't see it yet. It's a lot there. Let me stop sharing this video. Matter of fact, I'm not even going to pay attention to this person. Who cares? Yes, at the end of the day, that person is not going to edify anybody. And they should just get off the comment board. So with that, I want to block this person, ban user, and delete their comments. So this person is banned. You can never come back on our page, right? So going back to this video, this woman, she's a part of the in crowd. And I want to show that right here. Because this is a whole nother world. These are Edomite Jakes, chop the cover Edomites, Jakes that's with the system. These people, which he's older now. This is an old video, and this dude, he looks like shit right now. This guy, I forget his name, but I did some research on this dude, man. Matter of fact, what's this nigga name? What's this nigga name? He had a funny name, funny, crazy name and shit.
Years ago, Dr. Miles created the Tuxedo Ball.
Actually, this tell guy.
It's so nice to see you again.
All Boule members. All of these people are Boule members, both the men and the women, and they have their children there. And you Jakes, you'll never see Quavo or the baby, little baby, whatever these niggas at this kind of ball. This is for the aristocratic Negroes that are in America that love this system.
A place for privileged Black children to mingle and make professional connections.
That's what the Edomites do. They had these different balls. They had these different gatherings where the privilege of these so-called the Edomites get together and they make connections with other families. They hook up. They get into these relationships and marry one another. any prospective leader.
Bertram Lee believes it will help his future political career.
Which Bertram Lee today he don't have a political career unless they pull his nigga up out of the college that he's teaching at. Bertram Lee. Get this nigga right here. The future of privacy forum. And he's tapped in. He was born into a world of of privilege, of black so-called black privilege, right? So let me play this. Let me play this, and I'm gonna show you. I'll give an update on Bertram Lee. We're gonna give an update on Bertram Lee. Did I? Where is the video at? Bertram Lee.
You could find yourself a job, an internship, opportunity, advice.
Find yourself a job or internship. These people, they're not trying to get jobs, and they're not trying to get internships. They're trying to run the Negro community and do the bidding of Esau on a high level.
You're talking to people who generally are amazing at what they do. They're successful. It's so hard to find that, especially like being out in the world.
You have to be black and you have to be wealthy.
You don't have to be wealthy. You just have to be a part of the group.
And she's about to say to Boule, you got to be a part. Listen to this demon. Listen to this black demon.
Wealthy.
You don't have to be wealthy. You just have to be a part of the group.
And she's about to say to Boule, you got to be part of the group. And that group is Sigma Pi Phi. This is their group. This is what this devil, this nigga, Henry Minton created that shit, which he could have been an Edomite. He definitely was set up by the super elite, though, for a fact. Because the super elite would never let this shit slide underneath their nose unless they had something to do with it. These are the Edomite minions. What's this nigga name that's in the Supreme Court? From Thurgood Marshall to Clarence Thomas, okay, to all these niggas, man. All these niggas are part of this organization, man. Right? She said you don't gotta be wealthy. You gotta be a part of you gotta be a part of the crowd.
You have to be a part of the you don't have to be wealthy. You just have to be a part of the group.
And you see, that's secrecy right there. She's about to say the Boule, but then she said the group. And you don't have to be wealthy to be part of the Boule. You don't. You just have to be somebody of leadership, and you have to excel within your field of endeavor. And this is who we dealing with. I brought this video out many times, but this shows you. Okay, I just want to see what this bitch name is again. I want to see her name is. Let me see her name is Dr. Such and such.
His life. She's a renowned. Dr. Carlotta Miles has known Bertram Lee all his life. She's a renowned.
And she knew him all his life because she brought him up to groom him. Carlotta Lee. I'm gonna see if I can find her. Dr. Carlotta Lee. She might be dead. Let me see what her name is. I think he might come out of her family.
Dr. Carlotta Miles has known.
Sorry, Carlotta Miles. Dr. Carlotta. That's Bertram Lee. Dr. Carlotta Miles. Dr. Carlotta Miles. Yeah, this demon right here. Dr. Carlotta G. Miles. Dr. Carlotta. What you don't, it's amazing. You don't find a lot of information on these people either. Because Esau hide it. He's an MD. Dr. Carlotta Miles, Washington, D.C. psychiatrist. She got Jake on all kinds of drugs and shit. Yeah, this is that demon. So let me put this up here too, so brothers can see this bitch. I'm gonna stop sharing this. Let's go back to the other screen. Right here. So this is Dr. Carlotta G. Miles, right? Wedding celebration, Lyda Scott Miles, blah 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 blah. She's a psychiatrist. This in Washington D.C. in Maryland. This woman right here. You don't gotta be there. This is her right here. She might still be alive. She's Dr. Miles graduated from Howard University, which a lot of them jakes that get into the Boule, they get siphoned through these so-called black colleges. Howard University will be like the Yale of Negro colleges. It says Dr. Miles graduated from Howard University uh, College of Medicine and Howard University College of Medicine in 1964. She works in Washington, D.C. And one other location specialized in psychiatry. She probably got Jake in rooms doing all kinds of shit to him. Yeah, yeah. And that's probably me. But that dude, Bertram Lee, that you heard about, this is the guy right here. Bertram Lee, this guy right here. And he's working behind the scenes. Don't be surprised if this nigga show up to be a fucking city councilman or mayor or governor or something. This Bertram Lee is a senior policy council data decision making decision making and artificial intelligence. Hey, we got artificial intelligence as a thing right now, especially with all the shit that's going on with the CBDC, the blockchain, the MOTB, all of that's going to play a part in this. At the Future Privacy Forum, where he leads the FPF works on artificial intelligence. Previously, Bertram was a counsel for media and tech at the leadership conference. How you think this dude got up in here? Through his Boule membership. You know what I'm saying? It says conference is a leadership media and tech at the leadership conference on civil and human rights, where he worked to advance the interests of marginalized communities, which he never even was born in a marginalized community, and technology and media policy. His portfolio includes broadband access, media diversity, facial recognition. All of this going to play a part in the MOTB, law enforcement surveillance technologies, Section 230 of the Communication Decency Act, algorithmic bias, artificial intelligence, content moderation, and platform accountability. Previously, Bertram worked as a policy counsel in public knowledge and served as a policy counsel at the U.S. House Committee for Education and Labor. Under Chairman Robert C. Scott, Bertram received his JD, his Juris Doctorate, from Howard University School of Law. But mind you, he didn't go to Howard. He went to his BA, what's it, in law, and his BA at Haverford College. Yeah, he went to Haverford College, and these are the people that he's leading. Now, this nigga didn't get to where he got to because of hard work and dedication, like Floyd Mayweather say. This nigga got to here leading these Edomites and these nigga woman. He leading these people into what? To the so-called future. He got there through being part of the Boule. And he ain't had to be wealthy. He just had to be a part of the club, you know? And he's leading these people. This is your man right here. This is your man Bertram. You see? But then they'll tell you that you got to work hard to get to where you're getting to. Nah, nigga. This nigga got to where he got to because this man is a part of the in crowd. And he looks like a regular nobody. But this dude is tapped in. He tapped in. I'm just checking his Twitter out. If it pop up, this nigga got a profile, so I want to see what it says. Yeah, this is him. I guess he's his kids, right? Who also gonna grow up in the in crowd, right? And you notice a lot of these niggas is concentrated in DC and Maryland. You know, tweets are mine. Civil rights tech. He supports Ukraine. Yeah, Bertram Lee, man. It's the man right here. It's the man that was he was the one being talked about in this series right here, Black to America. And he's doing, again, man, you just got to be a part of the crowd. And it just shows you that. You see, you can't make this shit up, man. And see, like, regular people won't look at this stuff. Regular Jakes, you niggas concerned about bullshit and folly. But it's real stuff going on, and they using your own people against you. So let's go back to this book right here. This is back in African American fraternity sororities in the chapter entitled The Grand Boule, The Dawn of a New Century. It says right here, the situation became more acute when large numbers of African Americans began to migrate from the rural South to the northern cities and to the West. The migrants termed newcomers by the old Black residents brought with them rural habits and conditions that the old timers, regardless of their economic or educational standing, considered beneath them. But the newcomers talked too loud, ate lunch and other meals on public conveyances, and in other ways contravene the mores of their new homes. Sometimes the animosity was quiet, but on some occasions, the self-appointed black guardians, and that's what these Boule members are, so-called black guardians of good society, which is white society, lectured the new masses on what was expected of them. In one telling piece, the Chicago Defender, a black newspaper with a national readership and a reputation as a champion of black rights, and they love talking about their champions of black rights, admonished the newcomers in the bold letters to keep your mouth shut, please. There is entirely too much talking on the streetcars among our newcomers. Thus, at the beginning of the 20th century, a small group of educated professional African American men felt isolated from both whites and other blacks. Further, their struggles to make a living was so mean that they had hardly had time to know one another. Sigma Pi Phi fraternity was born, and of these circumstances, black men of distinction had long functioned in various leadership posts, especially in churches, benevolent associations. Some notable, Frederick Douglass, had even served in the higher government posts. All right. It says right here on page 98. Okay. I hope brothers are following me. You know, you got niggas like this. Now I'm not saying that, nigga behavior is acceptable. It's not acceptable on no level. But it just shows you that Esau used that as a divisive tool amongst our people. And it's not the first time that this man has done this. He's used it during the time of Hellenism, which we're going to get into that in this lesson. He's used a great deal, especially during the time of the Greeks when they were ruling over our people under Antiochus III, Epiphanes IV, men like that. And what do? They use Hellenism, because this is Hellenization right here. Salakia. This is Hellenization right here. All this Greek shit, this is a Hellenization right here, which this book gonna show you that these men were completely Hellenists. The Boule founders were nothing but Hellenists, man. You know, that's what they were. And they enticed our people to be that way. They want you to be an uppity nigga. They want you to be basically whitewashed. And that's accepted. But they don't want the whole masses of Jake to be like that because it needs somebody to rule over, as they're being ruled over by Esau. Okay? So that's what that spirit is. All right? That's what that spirit is. Where we at? Back in this book. So it says right here on page 98, Henry Minton was a leading figure in a discussion about organizing such a group. He was born in Columbia, South Carolina on Christmas Day, 1871. By the time he was 5 years old, his parents had moved to Washington, D.C., where Minton began public school. He eventually spent 2 years at the academy at Howard University and then went to Phillips Exeter Academy in New Hampshire. And you notice a lot of these niggas come out of Howard University, man. They always come out of that damn school, man. Fucking demonic ass school. Phillips Exeter Academy in New Hampshire, from which he graduated in 1891. Minton then studied law for a year before attending Philadelphia College of Pharmacy, from which he graduated in 1895. And mind you, this was during the time when Jake was in slavery and just coming out, well, in slavery and coming out of slavery. You know, you had niggas doing uppity niggas doing this, and a lot of them dudes were tears. But you had Jake that was doing well. You always had Jake doing well, even in Capernaum. You had Israelites that were doing well. All right. Let me see if I can find that. Salakia. You had niggas doing well, and the Lord had he had to, he said that place was going to be destroyed. All right. Let's look up Capernaum. Capernaum will be like the Georgetown, Maryland, or Prince George, Maryland. Right. I want to go back to this. Salakia. Yeah, Capernaum was a fishing village established during the time of the Hasmoneans, located north shore of the Sea of Galilee. Had a population of 1,500. Uh, what's going on? Where am I? Tabs are going. Right. Says this is St. Matthew chapter 8, verse 5. It says, and when Yahushua entered into Capernaum, there came to him a centurion beseeching him. Hold on. It's a lot here, brothers. Just bear with me. Yeah, let's go this. And okay, that's not it. And I kind of want to stick to the subject. But this is says Capernaum was a fishing village established during the time of the Hasmoneans, located northern shore of the Sea of Galilee, and had a population of 1,500. Archaeological excavation have revealed two ancient synagogues built one over the other. A house turned into a church by the Byzantines is believed to have been the home of St. Peter. The village was established from the 2nd BC, 11th century, and when it was abandoned some before the First Crusade. This includes the reestablishment of the village during the early Islamic period. Blah, blah, blah. In the New Testament, the town is cited in 4 of the Gospels, Matthew 14 and 13, 8, 5, 11, 23, 17, and 24, and in Mark. And it says where it was reported to have been the hometown of the tax collector Matthew. It is located not far from Bethsaida, the hometown of Apostle Simon Peter. Okay, and what else? One Sabbath, Yahushua taught in the synagogue in Capernaum and healed a man who was possessed by an unclean spirit. This story is notable as the only one that is common in the Gospels, but not contained in the Gospel of Matthew. Blah, 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 blah. But it was a rich town. It was a wealthy town. It was a wealthy fishing village. And these niggas was uppity back then, just like they are today. That's the point I wanted to try to make on that. Let me get back to this book. Let me get back to this book. Where we at? Where we at? Right here. So it says right here, I'm going to skip down. Mitten thought that an organization for black, learned, and professional men should be a fraternity in the true sense of the word, one whose chief thought should not be to visit the sick and bury the dead, but to bind men of like qualities, taste, and attainments into a close and sacred union that they might know the best of one another. Members would not be selected on the basis of brains alone, but in addition, congeniality, culture, and good fellowship. And they shall have behind them at initiation a record of accomplishment, not merely men of promise and good education. So you have to be highly accomplished. You have to not only do you have to have a good education, but you have to be highly accomplished. And again, according to these men in a Boule, this will shows you that you're what you call it approved. All right. So you can't buy your way into it. You can't. That's some shit you got to be invited to. And you got to be able to show that you're accomplished in your private life as well as your personal life. All right. It says his fraternity would contain the best of Skull and Bones and Yale and a Phi Beta Kappa. His organization would combine fellowship and congeniality. And I looked up that term for congeniality, and it says this: congeniality is a very friendly person who could win a contest for having the best personality. These phrases are often used in a negative, ironic way to say that someone is not friendly. So, and that's another thing too, because a person that's very friendly or that have a good personality, they can convince other people to follow them. So, this is the kind of people they want. They want these influencers. All right. So, not only do you have to be a professional, not only do you have to have some personal achievement, but you have to be congenial, and that comes from the Skull and Bones. And his organization would combine fellowship and congeniality, Skull and Bones, with scholarship and achievement, Phi Beta Kappa. As Algernon B. Jackson is a physician, was Mitten's earliest, closest conversant on these matters. After months of conversation with Jackson, some discussion, Edward C. Howard, Richard C. Warwick, also physicians, Minton met with all three at Howard's home in May 1904. At the meeting, the four men decided to proceed with Minton's idea that they form a fraternity of like-minded men. And that's where this shit come from, you know. It says so something else I wanted to read on here. Where was it at? Yeah, this is off of page 99. It says the fraternities the fraternity's founders were all from the medical profession, but Sigma Pi Phi was never intended to be a professional organization of physicians. The dominance of physicians in the founding group represented a simple reality. Medicine was the one of the few professions in which learned African Americans could be judged on their own merit, unlike law or other professions in which one's competence is subjectively evaluated, i.e., being a judge or a lawyer or a juror. Physicians are judged by well-being of their patients. If a person is sick, a physician treats him and makes him well. That person does not care about others' opinions of the physician's competence and standing. Such recognition notwithstanding, however, one should not assume that black physicians receive privilege from white facilities or enjoyed equal standings. And it's crazy because here it is, these professionals, so-called professionals, they would get treated like shit by Esau, but then they take that same attitude and they put it on their own people who are lessers, who they deem as lessers. Okay. And these niggas are nothing but chocolate covered Edomites, because like he said in this on a previous page that Mitten thought that the organization for blacks learned professional men should be a fraternity in the true sense of the word, on whose chief thought should not be to visit the sick and bury the dead. But yet, guess what? Yahweh Shai, he told us to visit the sick. This is and heal. That's what you're supposed to do. Okay, this is St. Matthew chapter 15. St. Matthew chapter St. Matthew I thought it was 10. Yep. This St. Matthew chapter 10, verse 5. These 12 Yahweh Shai sent forth and commanded them, saying, go not into the way of the Gentiles, and into any city of the Samaritans enter ye not, but go rather to the lost sheep of the house of Israel. And as ye go, preach, saying, the kingdom of heaven is at hand. Heal the sick, cleanse the leper, raise the dead, cast out devils. Freely have you received, freely you give. You see? And that's what a man of the Lord will do. And how do you heal the sick? Before you physically healing them, you give them his truth. All right? You bringing the lost sheep home. All right? You cleansing them with this truth. Through the spirit and power of Yahweh Bashem Yahweh Shai. You raising the dead with this truth. Through the spirit and power and faith in Yahweh Bashem Yahweh Shai. But see, these look, don't get it twisted. These niggas know, these Boule niggas, they know they Israelites. They know the truth, but they don't care about it because it doesn't benefit them the way Esau benefits them. Going back into the previous lesson when we brought out St. John chapter 11, and around like the 40 or something verse, all they were worried about was their position. That's why they conspired to kill the Messiah, which ultimately he was supposed to go down that way. But the point of the matter is, these niggas that's all they could think about was their position. Notwithstanding that, guess what? The country of Israel will be decimated by the Roman armies, particularly Jerusalem. And all that they worship, all of that they had, all those positions, where did they go? Did they keep them and keep going? No. The motherfuckers got put to death. They starved them out, or they escaped somewhere. And then you had the elect amongst them that listened to Yahweh Shai that did get out of there. But going back to these wicked scribes and Pharisees and these council members, what happened? They lost all that. It got burnt the fuck up. Just like today. These people that are invested in America, because these niggas right here, They invested in America. These Boule members right here, these are Boule members, so-called kings, right? They invested in this place. Guess what? They're going to burn up in this place. And their position that they had is going to be done away with. This is the book of Luke, chapter 16. This is the book of Luke, chapter 16. Okay. Yeah, just the book of Luke. I think it might be 6. 16:26, 16. It might be 6. Salaki. It might be 6. 26. It's the book of Luke, chapter 6, verse 26. The book of Luke, chapter 6, verse 26. It says, woe unto you when all men, matter of fact, verse 24. But woe unto you that are rich, for ye have received your consolation, which is your comfort. These niggas right here, they receive, these are rich men, these are wealthy men. And this is their consolation, right? That's all this shit is. It's their comfort for this world, right? It says, woe unto you that are rich, for ye have received your consolation. Woe unto you that are full, for ye shall hunger, right? Because ultimately, the judgment is still going to reach them. Esau can't deliver them from the hands of Yahweh Bashim Yahushai. And he damn sure Esau can't deliver them from the curses that Yahweh Bashim Yahushai has put on us people. Woe unto you that laugh now, for ye shall mourn and weep. Woe unto you when all men shall speak well of you, for so did their fathers of the false prophets, man. You see, these men that conspire amongst each other against their own people and against the Heavenly Father, you know. Some brother said, hey, there's some deep stuff, Elder. I never heard of these people until now. Imagine what other groups, elites, we never heard of. Yeah, because I'm sure you got, I don't have no proof on it, but I would assume and be sure that even amongst the Northern Kingdom, you got these groups of men and women that conspire against their own people and do the bidding of Esau. But mainly Judah, we talk about Judah right now, Judah, Benjamin, Levi, mainly Judah, so-called African American, with this whole Sigma Pi Phi. And when you go to their Wikipedia page, it ain't really nothing on here. It's got what, 2 paragraphs? The founding members, you know. Okay, membership. It says the membership in Sigma Pi Phi is highly exclusive, numbering only about 5,000. The organization is known as the Boule, which means in ancient Greek, the council. Just like that, it's nothing but a wicked council. That's all it is, a wicked council. Founded as an organization for professionals, Sigma Pi Phi never established collegiate chapters and eliminated undergraduate membership during its infant stages. However, Sigma Pi Phi has historically had a congenial relationship with intercollegiate Black Greek letter organizations, which is this is the Divine Nine, the National Pan-Atlantic Council. So they have a congenial. What's the word for congenial? I think it's agreeable or something like that. Salakia. They have a congenial relationship with these other organizations, pleasant because personality qualities, interests that are similar to one's own. Exactly, because these different, the National Pan-Atlantic Council or the Divine Nine, as they call them today, right? These motherfuckers, this is nothing but a testing ground for them. They don't get every person that gets in these organizations. They want the ones that's willing to work their way to the top of these organizations and dedicate their life to these different organizations. And these are the people that they later on induct in to the other organizations, such as the Boule, right? So they say they had a congenial relationship with the Pan-Atlantic Council, with intercollegiate Black Greek letter organizations, as many members of Sigma Pi Phi are members of both. Sigma Pi Phi founder Henry McKean Mitten and Martin Luther King Jr. were both members of Alpha Phi Alpha. Yep. Arthur Ashe was a member of Kappa Alpha Psi. Vernon Jordan and Douglas Wilder are members of Omega Psi Phi. James Weldon Johnson was a member of Phi Beta Sigma, as was civil rights leader and members of Congress. And I had brought this out in the last lesson. A great number of these civil rights leaders all come out of the Boule. These are men and women that were nurtured in this organization, and they don't care about the people. They just got in there just so they could control it. But they don't give a damn, excuse my language, they don't give a damn about the masses, which is understandable. You know what I'm saying? We don't care about 2/3 because there are some aristocrats. The aristocrats on the right hand side will be the elect men, starting off with the 144,000 of 12,000 men, 12,000 men from each of the 12 tribes of Israel. But see, we're not going to treat our people like shit. We're not going to treat our people like crap. You know what I'm saying? We're not going to work for the enemy. Hell no. It says Joseph Williams, our member. It says, University of Massachusetts Boston Chancellor Dr. J. Keith Motley and Hibernia South Coast Capital CEO retired Joseph Williams are members of Iota Phi Theta. Members of Sigma Pi Phi have provided leadership and services during the Great Depression, World War I and II, and the Great Recession, and addressed social issues. No, they didn't. I got it in a book. These niggas didn't even want to get down with that. And issues affecting African people of African descent. And again, all these different world leaders from Martin Luther King to Ralph Bunchy, all these niggas are part of the super elite minions called the Boule. Andrew Young, Maynard Jackson, Douglas Wilder. I just put him. Kenneth Chenault, this guy. Who else? And a bunch of people that we don't know about, that they don't talk about. Calvin Ball is an American Democratic politician. Again, they're all about this system. They holding up America like it's a crown jewel unto them because they love that position. Which is great. They sit in Moses' seat right here. I'll get back to the book. St. Matthew chapter 23. St. Matthew chapter 23, verse 2. St. Matthew 23 and 2. Right? It says, I'll speak, read verse 1. It says, Pharisees exposed. Then spake Yahushua to the multitude and to his disciples, saying, the scribes and the Pharisees sit in Moses' seat. All therefore whatsoever they bid you observe, that observe and do, but do not after their works, for they say and do not. Exactly, for they bind heavy burdens and grievous to be borne and lay them on men's shoulder, but they themselves will not move them with one of their fingers. Exactly. That's exactly what they do. That's what they did in the ancient time. That's what they're doing in this current time. All right. These men, they say to do one thing, but they don't even do what they say. They would tell you to follow the law, statutes, and commandments, but they themselves don't keep them. And then they'll bind burdens and grievous burdens to be borne and lay them on men's shoulders, but they won't help move it. See, Yahweh Shai, he moved that burden. He said, take his burden because his burden is light. It's easy. All right. I just want to see what this says in a different version. It says, they crush people with unbearable religious demands and never lift a finger to ease the burden. Exactly. Exactly. And that's because they only care about themselves. These are grievous wolves, man. So on I got some more on this page. This is off of page 100, right? Off of page 100. It said the founders' emphasis on equality and mutual respect stemmed in large measure from their devotion to the democratic traditions of ancient Greece and to the customs of leadership that existed there among free men. So these niggas are Grecians. These niggas are Hellenists. That's what these niggas are. It says, central to this idea was the Boule, the council of chiefs, or the leading noblemen. See, of the society. So that's what these people are. Leading noblemen of this society of so-called Negro descent. Individual members of the Boule were known as archons. Such men, which archon means the first ruler. Such men provide the intellectual and civic leadership for the general society. So they go to these niggas. These niggas will give you intellectual and civic leadership, right? For what society? Negro society. But what they giving you is wickedness. You know, they want you to be in this world, and they want you to be joined unto America. That's why 2/3 of you niggas gonna die, man. This is First Maccabees chapter 6, verse 21. Howbeit, certain of them that were besieged got forth unto some of the ungodly men of Israel and joined themselves. Matter of fact, let's read it. Start at 19. It says, wherefore Judas, purposing to destroy them, called all the people together to besiege them. These are all the wicked niggas. You know? Matter of fact. Ugh. Let's start at 16. This verse 16. So King Antiochus died there in 149 year, right? Now when Lycia knew that the king was dead, he set up Antiochus, his son, whom he had brought up being young, to reign in his stead, and his name was called Eupator. About this time that they were in the tower shut up, the Israelites round about the sanctuary and sought always their hurt and the strengthening of the heathen. So you had wicked ass Israelites that would strengthen the heathen. That's what they were about. Just like these niggas that we're reading about today, these Boule people. Wherefore Judas, purposing to destroy them, called all the people together to besiege them. So they came together and besieged them in the 105th year. And he made mounts for shots against them and other engines. Says verse 21. Howbeit certain of them that were besieged got forth unto whom the ungodly men of Israel joined themselves. Right. So they joined themselves to the Greeks, and they try to get the Greeks to help them. And that's what these Negroes would do today. It says, and they went unto the king and said, how long will it be ere thou execute judgment and avenge our brethren? Basically, they're saying, instead of going to Yahweh Shai, right? They went to the white man. They went to the Greeks, and said, how long are you going to not avenge, their brethren that died? But your brothers died because they were wicked. You were helping the enemy. It says, we have been willing to serve thy father and to do as he would have us, and to obey his commandments. So you willing to obey Esau's commandments, but you're not willing to obey the commandments of Yahweh Shai. That's why they say such are the men eyes, they fear the eyes of men. Says verse 25. It says, neither have they stretched out their hand against us only, but also against their borders. Yep. It says, and behold, this day are they besieging the tower of Jerusalem to take it. The sanctuary also at Beth Shur, and have they fortified. So they went and ratted, these wicked niggas. Wherefore, and that's what these talented Tim dudes do today. That's why they use somebody like Maxine Waters to come down and talk to you Negroes when y'all get too excited. And if they get too rowdy, they'll get the cops in, the National Guard, and they'll watch them destroy you, man. These niggas these people feign integrity and high standards and moral standards. But in reality, man, these are some of the worst niggas on the earth, man. These Negroes have no integrity, and they have no allegiance to Yahweh Bashim Yahushai. Their allegiance is to Satan. Their allegiance is to Esau and his world. Same thing that was happening back then. It says, wherefore it be thou doest not prevent them quickly, they will do the greater things than these. They will do the greater things than these, neither shalt thou be able to rule them. So basically they're saying, if you don't do something now, they're going to overcome you and rule you. And they was using these words to try to get this man to stir up and roll with him. Now, when the king heard this, he was angry and gathered together all his friends and the captains of his army, and those that had charge of the horses, of the horse. There came also unto him from other kingdoms and from the isles of the sea bands of hired soldiers. So basically, these niggas help the enemy go to war with us, man. And that's the same mindset that they're in today, because they're all about the Grecian way. They're all about the Grecian way. Let's go back into this book real quick. It says, right here, it says, central to this idea was the Boule, the council of chiefs or the leading noblemen of society. Individual members of the Boule were known as archons. Such men provide the intellectual and civic leadership for the general society. Accordingly, the founders, especially Jackson, emphasized the organization's responsibility to admit only men of achievement and distinction in both their professional and personal lives. Thus, Sigma Pi Phi fraternity became known as the Boule, and the individual members were designated archons. As the fraternity evolved and the spouses of members became integral parts of the organization, it adopted the Greek term arkusa to designate an archon's wife. Unlike in many other organizations, no single personality dominated Sigma Pi Phi for years. Henry Minton drew the coveted lot at the second meeting at the end of May 1904 and became the first leader, called Sir Archon, or Alpha of the Alpha Boule. This was fitting, for the fraternity had been his idea. But Sigma Pi Phi was hardly a national fraternity at the time. All of the members were affiliated with one group in Philadelphia. Okay, and blah 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 blah. We got some more, and this also shows you that Martin Luther King and W.E.B. Du Bois were members of this group too as well. All right, this is off of page 116 of this book, right? Showing you how they manipulated the civil rights movement and gathered themselves as the leadership and galvanized the movement. That's why they got you niggas to sign that integration act, or to agree with that integration act, because something that you're going to find out in this book, the civil rights movement at first was supposedly a grassroots movement, right? With young kids that was, trying to champion for rights, equal rights and civil rights for so-called black people in the South. And then when it started heating up, they threw Martin Luther King up in there, and they threw Ralph Abernathy up in there. They threw all these dudes up in there to control it. But it really was the grassroots portion of it. But they had to take control of it. And at first, they didn't even want to have nothing to do with it. Okay. This is so you had W.E.B. Du Bois was a member of this organization too. All right. And this is what happened. You guys know who W.E.B. Du Bois is, right? Okay, W.E.B. Du Bois, which he was a Negro in America. This is W.E.B. Du Bois. And you should be familiar with this nigga right here, this devil nigga right here, this Edomite right here, right? This is the devil, right? And he was a prominent Boule member, okay? And they got this dude all in and out of this book right here. Slack him to see if there's anything on the comment board. Nothing on the comment board. Nothing on the comment board. Okay, let's keep on reading. So this is off of page 116. It says, far from having spoken little of effect, Scott's speech in 1946 was just one of a series of challenges to the Boule from outstanding archons, to the extent its membership and to do more publicly to improve society. So you had some members that wanted them to do more, but you had the old guard that they didn't care about rights for blacks. They didn't care about inclusion of blacks in America. They wanted to do their own thing. It was a group that was supposed to be for well-to-do so-called black men. But then you had other ones that was, kicking up dust, saying that, hey, look, we got to do more for black rights and shit. So here it is. It says Boule from the outstanding archons. Let me read it again. Far from having spoken to little effect, Scott's speech in 1946 was just one of the series of challenges to the Boule from outstanding archons to the extent its membership and to do more publicly to improve society. These challenges from critics within the fraternity were far more fruitful than those from outsiders. As early as 1913, Grand Sire Archon McCard had challenged the fraternity to take responsibility for its place in society. In a widely discussed speech that he delivered to the Grand Boule in Wilberforce, Ohio, 1948, W.E.B. Du Bois lambasted Sigma Pi Phi for its do-nothing posture. Already 80 years old and a charter member of Zeta Boule since 1912. Yeah, he's a part of it for like 40 years. The distinguished scholar and civil rights leader saw little that the organization had contributed to the advancement of African Americans. Initially, the archons paid little attention to Du Bois, and some actually ostracized him for his audacious comments. You see, so these niggas could care less about you, man, and that's why this black bitch right here, Carlotta Miles, she got this ignorant look. She could care less about you, Jakes, man. Just like all your politicians, all of these Negroes that's up high in society, they don't give a fuck about the body. They don't know other people. They just care about themselves. They care about their pockets, right? But they don't know that Yahweh Shem Shai about to take all that away from them. You niggas about to be naked out here, bro. Wait till this shit happen. So it says, according to Charles Wesley, we of the Boule had left him alone in his demonstrative criticism. Nonetheless, Du Bois' words had struck a chord within the fraternity. Indeed, at the next Grand Boule in Alabama in 1950, the Committee of National Policy and Action reported that Sigma Pi Phi should definitely declare itself in its attitude on and toward the great social, governmental, and moral questions, which are today's supreme concern to the race, to the nation, and to the world. In 1951, W.E.B. Du Bois accepted a chairmanship at the Peace Information Center and almost landed in federal prison. According to the U.S. Attorney General, the Peace Information Center handled publicity for the World Congress of the Defenders of Peace, which the Secretary of State, Dean Axon, considered a purveyor of Soviet propaganda. Du Bois refused the government demand that he resign or register as an agent of a foreign principal, and he was indicted. The government failed to prove the case, and a federal judge acquitted Du Bois. Du Bois was bitter about the lack of support during his ordeal and complained that neither African American leaders nor the fraternity to which I have belonged for almost 40 years, which he's talking about Sigma Pi Phi, the Boule, did anything to help him. So they ain't get this nigga no help. They ain't get this nigga no money. They ain't help him beat the case. And so he was pissed off, man. But that's because they were punishing him for speaking out against them. You see? And this is what they do. You know how they do. It should be clear that the ostracism of Du Bois did not stop the flow of commentary from the critics. Indeed, significant changes in the national policy heightened and demanded enthusiasm to involve Boule in civil rights movements. You see that? So they were excited. They wanted to put Boule members into this movement. Among those policy changes were the Supreme Court's unanimous decision, Brown versus the Board of Education of Topeka, which outlawed racial segregation in the public schools, highly publicized integration efforts such as those in Little Rock and Arkansas, in which archons took major leadership roles, and the Montgomery bus boycott of 1955 to 56, which launched the career of archon Martin Luther King Jr. So Martin Luther King Jr. was a Boule member. You see, it was all a setup. It was all a setup. The whole civil rights movement was a big setup, man. In 1958, in a remarkable, insightful, powerful speech on the importance of the Boule and the challenges faced, Archon Alonzo J. Moran, president of Hampton Institute in Virginia, a lot of these so-called black chancellors and presidents of these schools are members of the Boule, was biting in the criticism in his instances for action. Speaking at the Grand Boule that convened on his campus, Moran said, I'm not going to read all of this. Matter of fact, yeah. It is a sobering note to observe, however, that we have no, listen to this. It is a sobering, let me see if I can make this a little bit bigger for you brothers. Check this shit out. Check this out, Salaki. Oh, my bad, brothers. I guess not. So anyway, it says it is a sobering note to observe, however, that we have no exclusive claim to all of the outstanding men of quality and achievement of the Negro race. So that's what they wanted in the United States. It may not be statistical accident that we do not now number among our active membership all, or even a majority of those who are or have been at the forefront of the fight for equal rights and justice in our country. Those of us who feel keenly in need for united effort and sustained sacrifice and continuing fight to make democracy live for all of us are concerned that Sigma Pi Phi has provided no leadership and scant support for the fight against the denial of equal opportunity on a basis of race and color. You see? So these niggas, man, these niggas are demons, man. It says there were, of course, archons who were outstanding leaders of the civil rights movement, including Du Bois, Johnson, early in the century, and King, who was Moran's contemporary. But Moran had struck a note of truth that recognized that the continued opposition in a public action, some archons even objected to supporting the NAACP, which they created with Esau. You see, these niggas don't care about you, man. If you want to see some niggas that don't care about their people, man, that's these niggas, man. That's these niggas, these leaders of industry. I'm telling you, man, these niggas are demons, bro. These dudes are complete sellouts, man. You want to see a sellout nigga? Go to the Boule, man. These niggas are complete sellouts, man. Complete sellout. These are the worst of our kind, man. These are some of the worst of our people, man. This is First Maccabees chapter 1, verse 10. And there came out of them a wicked root, Antiochus, surnamed Epiphanes, son of Antiochus the king, who had been in hostage at Rome. And he reigned in 137th year of the kingdom of the Greeks. It says, in those days went there out of Israel wicked men who persuaded many, saying, let us go and make a covenant with the heathen that are round about us. For since we departed from them, we have had much sorrow. And that's what you got today. You got men, wicked Israelites, wicked men who persuade others to follow the way of the heathen. Right? Because when they stopped following the heathen, they was catching hell. All right. So they put their faith in these niggas. All right. These devils, man. That's what they did. This is what the Lord say about that. In Isaiah chapter 30, Isaiah chapter 30, verse 5. I'll go straight to the point because these niggas cover themselves with a spirit that's not of the Most High. Right? But they supposed to be the kings of our people. Yeah, right. It says they were all ashamed of a people that could not profit them, nor being help, nor profit, but a shame and also a reproach. In the kingdom of heaven, these niggas gonna be in a set if all these dudes are our people, the ones of them that are our people, they're gonna be in a shameful case because they put their hope and trust in a people that couldn't be a help or a profit unto them. Because Esau's kingdom is about to be destroyed. America's gonna be set on fire. And these niggas is going to be a part of Operation Get Behind the Darkie. Okay? When all hell breaks loose. Esau going to put these niggas right out. They're going to throw these niggas out. They're going to be calling the phone, banging on the door, trying to get out. And you're not. You're going to die right here in America if you ain't already gone. And wherever you at, you're going to be tracked down anyway. And a lot of these old niggas are already dead anyway. They're trying to replenish their ranks. You know? So I had a little bit more, but I pretty much made the point you know, in this book. You brothers can read it yourselves, and you can also hit this chapter. It's a really good chapter. It's chapter 4 of this book, African American Fraternities and Sororities, and it goes in on a Boule, and also the book goes in more about other fraternities and sororities that these people, you know, they pillage for their ranks for, or they comb the ranks, sip the ranks for more sellout niggas like this, you know. I don't know how long it's been going. It's been going for an hour and 15 minutes. Salakia, brothers. I know Jake got a short attention span. I didn't mean for it to go that long, but I hope you are edified. This has been the follow-up to All Black Leaders are members of the Boule, and it is absolutely true. All these Negro leaders that you get thrown into are part of Boule, but not our apostles and not the elders and not the bishop elders and brothers on down. We sincere men of the Lord. Lord willing, we endure to the end. Hey, and all you sellout Negroes, you're going to be dealt with. Hey, with that, so shalom on to the next.